TY-Clevatess, episode 1. So, this is one of those that I just happened to say, oh, looks cool, let me check it out, and it ended up being quite good and more than not what I expected. So, Clevatess is kind of tricks you into what the premise is. It starts off with this girl, Alicia, kind of just living her childhood, playing with bugs, swinging her stick around, and her father is working in the fields, just tending to their vegetables. And we get kind of like an early exposition dump of what's going on with Alicia finally asking the father, like, hey, this is our where we live, Ethia, right? But what about this dark stuff around the map? Why is it all dark? Why don't we know about what's happening or what's there? And the father kind of has to explain to her that this is kind of known as the Dark Continent because anything there is kind of like unknown. They haven't been able to like clear it or come to understand what's there. Like the few things that they do understand about this world is that there's dark beasts in the Dark Continent, and they're very dangerous. And even if you keep going further into the Dark Continent, you'll eventually meet up with their guardians, which is known as like the lore, the four lore beasts. One is for the north, one is for the south, one is for the west, one is for the east. And he kind of warns her, like, the reason why we don't necessarily always go there is because every expedition that has gone there has come back in failure. And he points out to his leg where that is now a wooden leg now, not necessarily an actual leg. And Alicia, just being like the kind soul, the naive child that she is, kind of like proclaims that, well, I'm gonna become a hero and explore it and make it known to the world, which is kind of like one of the legends that gets introduced to us, where the there's weapons being formed in the hidden kingdom, which one of them is going to be forged there, that's going to be able to clear the dark beast and clear the four lord beasts that are in the Dark Continent. And then it kind of jumps forward in time, almost seemingly like Alicia was the one that initially she was initially having a dream about it, and as she's heading now into the Dark Continent as one of the main heroes, which we have 12 other main heroes that all have these forged weapons. So these forged weapons are regalia, and each one of them is forged with this specific stone, alcaranite or something like that, which this stone makes it possible for them to be able to injure these dark beasts. And I really found it really funny that they introduced us to all these heroes, uh, only for them to, like, right off the bat in the first like 20 minutes face off against one of the four lord dark beasts, which is Clevatess. You know, the name of the show. He is the one that guards the Luna Mountain, which the Luna Mountain has a bunch of these crystals that form the weapons. So I thought, oh, okay, well, there's 13 heroes. So obviously they're gonna put up a fight, and nope, they just quickly get swept away by Clevatess. And I really found it really interesting that the first one to go out was the one that's like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna injure them. I'm definitely gonna take them down. And he's the one that's been riling up the other heroes to get in line with them because he is the strongest, and he's the first one that gets taken out, which in such a gruesome way that first of all, he got blitz, and he got left in such a distorted way where, like, His hands were backwards. His feet were like broken from the knee up. It was gruesome, and the other people didn't know like what was happening, how that happened. Like it was like a blink of an eye. Nobody saw how they did it, and after a couple more went and got taken out as well. Alicia, which is one of the main ones, also noticed. Well, she's the first one to notice that. It's your shadows. He can attack from your shadows. Don't. So if you're gonna go at him in the air or jump up, so that you're not, so your shadow doesn't show up and he can't attack you in that way. But that still wasn't enough. He still has a bunch of tails that can attack at them even if they're in midair, and they kind of like lose that fight. Uh, but Alicia does manage to land a hit on his horn, and one of the really great things about this was that Clevatess was looking at them from afar, like, oh, how they make it this far, and then once he realized they were there, he's like, well, uh, I wonder why these weak insects are trying to end me, trying to invade our lands, and he definitely takes an interest in the motives behind the humans doing this, which is also very interesting because before Clavitus, I kind of just assumed that the dark beasts were just mindless monsters, but now that we met Clavitus, we can assume that the other Lord beasts are also have similar capabilities, like they're able to talk and think. They're not just mindless at the way they go about things. And as he takes care of all the humans that were sent, including Alicia, who she doesn't necessarily get completely wrecked like the other people, but she does end up dying. So, oh, the animation, by the way, really good. I really enjoyed the animation, and because the humans attacked Clevatess, he decided, well, I'm gonna go attack the humans. First of all, he just went to talk to the king, but people kept getting in his way, so he's just like, well, you get in my way, I end you. Simple. And as he's like seeing them attack him, he starts noticing, oh, these humans are the weak insects I thought. So what was so special about the other 13 that went after me? And then he remembers, oh well, it's probably the weapons. And the king of the hidden kingdom, decided not to run away. He's like, well, if he's coming after us, there's no point in running away. We just have to make sure that the fire of hidden does not extinguish. Which now, given that the first episode ended, I can kind of not summarize, but I can kind of make a educated guess that this fire of Eden is the techniques that allow these red weapons to be formed from these special stones that the heroes had. And once Capitus kind of meets with the king after wreaking havoc in town, he lets him know straight up, listen, I'm here to talk to you. But I will, depending on how you answer me, I will either end you here and now, or if I like your answer, I might let you live. So he wants to know why the humans have invaded him, and the king was like, well, don't talk to me in human speech. You don't deserve that. You're an animal. You're kind of like putting him out to be something he's not, kind of like belittling him, and also just trying to put up an image that he is not civil enough to be part of this society. So he's shunned from it. And then when he asks Uh, what what does he? What is it? Like, he does not. He wants to know why they. So Clevatess wants to know why the king and all the humans want him dead. Dead, and why he's trying to invade this kingdom, what he's trying to accomplish. And the king's like, I don't have to answer to you. So off with the king's head it goes. And then we get into the really great part of like what the show kind of is going towards. And Clevatess, upon all the wreckage, he spots this child that's crying, and there's I guess, a nanny or someone or her mother maybe with the child, kind of begging Clevatess to take him with them. And I really love how they have the saying where it's like a child is not a child does not get to choose when or where they're born, because Clevatess tells her like, yeah, you humans are not worth living or being kept alive, so I'm gonna destroy all of you. And so what difference does it make if I let this child live, if I'm gonna end up destroying humanity anyway? But somehow she convinces him that it'll be worth it to see what the child becomes, and he'll have an answer as to whether or not humans are really worth keeping around. So reluctantly, or because of her wishes, Clevatess is like, well, it won't hurt me to see if this child can provide the answer I want, because he's still gonna have to build up an army anyway before coming to the human kingdom and trying to overtake it with his dark beasts. So he leaves and takes the child with him, or the baby with him. And then we get another info dump, which I just really love it when they bring up the info dumps. And this is the info dump they brought halfway through the episode was about the human races that are in this world. So one of them are the Dunes, which are the greatest in numbers. So like there's more of them around, and they're basically skilled in architect and tactics, and they are the ones that are actually divided because they're so large. They're divided into two separate categories of Dune: the Eslan and the Boleta. It's going to be interesting to see how they both differ going forward. And the second race is the Orgites, which kind of look like Orgers, and these people are kind of like brave, and they live in the forests, where they kind of like excel in hunting and medicine. And then there's the Slatins, which are like the aquatic people who are skilled in swimming, seafaring, but unlike the Dunes, I'm assuming, and the Orgites, they don't really get along with the other human races, and they don't want to interact with them. And fourth, we have the Benti, which are barbarians, a barbarian race that lives in the wasteland. And they said that these specific type of humanoids are really powerful individually, but when it comes to cohesion, or like when it comes to them coming together, they don't work well with one another also. So kind of weak in that aspect. And then we have the Hedonians, which Clevatess just kind of obliterated the entire Hedonians. Who this is the specific type of race that are skilled in refining and forging metal, and this is the race that forged the weapons that they used against them. And specifically, only the royal family, remember, is able to use these techniques, or is able to pass down these techniques to forge weapons with these stones that can damage them. The Arcanite stone that can damage Clevatess. So, and what's really interesting is that there's probably a lot of them mixed in with the dunes, but there's not a lot of pure blooded ones, which just in my head just made me realize like, okay, well, it's obviously this the baby that he picked up is probably of importance. It's gonna be like a royal family that's pure blooded, which at least the royal family aspect ends up being true in the later parts of the episode, and they also go on about like how the dunes end up selling their weapons, and that's what led to the mix of race between the dunes and the Hedonians. So then we cut to Clevatess just being the nice parent. Really, really funny how he takes the child, just like dumps him to where bugs are that eat like uh poop and stuff, and picks it up with this pointy tail, and is always complaining about like, man, you're such a handful. Am I really gonna have to wait till you're old to find my answer? It's like, ugh, I'm gonna need some help with this. So he ends up spotting Alicia, who's still kind of her whole body's still kind of intact. So he ends up reviving her. Uh, he used his Dark Igor to bring her back to life, but bringing her back to life comes with a cost. So she's essentially like just his puppet now. She doesn't have a free will of her own. She's bounded by whatever word or by whatever command Clevatess tells of her. And one of the commands he first says is like for her to like strip and feed the baby, but he didn't realize that she doesn't produce milk because she hasn't gone through motherhood. So in that aspect, we have Clevatess kind of like all knowing about the dark beast, but not necessarily knowing about humans. So it's gonna be a really interesting development seeing Clevatess learn about humans probably becoming more human like himself, and having Alicia, who's just as the series continues, probably gonna become less and less human like, or lose his hope and lose her humanity in the process. That's what I'm assuming, but time will tell. But Alicia kind of lets Clevatess know, like, okay, well, this child needs an a nanny or a wet nurse, something like that. I think she said. So they end up using some of the Alcasonites, taking them because they're gonna sell them in order to provide this wet nanny. And in doing so, Clevatess has decided, well, since I can't go out looking like a beast, I am gonna be able to shift my shadow in a way where I can look like human. And he gives himself the name Klein or Klein, and gives the baby name Luna, kind of like, so it's Luna because the moon, and because that he's in the Luna Mountain, really great stuff. And as we're seeing these two go on a journey to try to go to the next town, we start learning interesting things about Luna, and this is where we find out that Luna is actually from royal blood, and Alicia kind of blurts that out to Clevatess, and she realizes, oh, oh shoot, probably shouldn't have said that, because now Clevatess has. At first, he was gonna wait and see if the child can provide an answer, but seeing as the child is of royal blood, he's like, well, I can probably use this to my advantage. He's like, I'm gonna make this child become the king or ruler of the humanoids, and I'm gonna be the one that's ruling from the shadows in actuality. So Luna is just gonna be used kind of like as a puppet for him to be able to rule the humans, or figure out how best to control the humans. Really, and Alicia's just freaking out, like, shoot, well, I guess I guess things are gonna go in that way, but there's still a lot of steps that have to happen before that even becomes reality. So she decides as her last like hero act that she's gonna make sure that Clevatess doesn't become the shadow ruler. And and then they get whacked by random bandits, which Clevatess kind of gets hit really hard, and Alicia goes like, "Well, that's not gonna do anything to him. He's super tough." But in actuality, I think it was because he shifted into a human that he ended up becoming weaker in that human state and wasn't able to absorb the blows as well. So that he ends up being knocked out, and then they knock out Alicia as well. Not a great fit, not a great look for like our hero in the end. And then we also have, aside from that, we have another thing that's going on with Hedonian Kingdom that now because it's in ruin, the Dunes are trying to get at it. They're like, okay, well, now that the kingdom's in ruins, I hope we can manage to salvage the Alcacinide forging and take it before any other of the humans can do so. So this myth is probably really powerful tool for them. They can use it to sell weapons, be the next people to fully monopolize it, and really probably because the Dunes are the largest group and all, they can probably really arm themselves with a good enough army that eventually they'll probably form an expedition with themselves with a bunch of people with these weapons and try to overtake the Dark Continent or and get rid of the Dark Beasts. It's just really great stuff from this anime that I wasn't really expecting too much of. That its world building has been really good so far. The character Clevatess has been a really interesting character, and his motives now have really sparked my interest in him. Alicia's kind of interesting. I just really enjoy diving into a anime with some sort of politics behind it, and also having great characters to work within those politics. So I'm really enjoying it so far. The episode I think is a 9 out of 10.